This week, I'm going to lead you through a knee-friendly yin yoga practice. That means that we're going to use more open angles for knees in our poses. I'm going to show you different ways of using props to support the knees, and also we're going to stay in each pose for a bit shorter time. So hopefully your knees like this practice as well. Let's get started. Before we dive into the practice, I'll just explain what kind of props I have here with me today. I have 2 bolsters, but you could use pillows, cushions, folded blankets instead. I have 1 yoga mat, a rolled up yoga mat. You can use a towel or a blanket instead. I have a small towel that I've rolled into quite a tight roll. And I have a couple of blocks as well, just in case, but you could also replace these with smaller pillows or towels as well. So a lot of different props. Gather all your props and then we're gonna come lie down. Our first pose of the practice is supported bridge. And I'm showing it with 2 bolsters. So any bolster-like props that you might have, pillows, cushions, bring 2 of them under your legs. And just take a moment to rest your legs on top of that support, checking in with your knees. And you choose how many props you have, so listen to your knees. All of our knee issues might come from different source, so these are only suggestions for using props in different ways. But take just a couple of breaths here, and then we're going to go into our first supported bridge. So once you have found your way lying down, you have those props under the legs, then bend your knees so that you could elevate your pelvis, your back off the mat, and try to pull one of those bolsters, pillows, cushions under your pelvis. And then the other one would be for under your knees, so that your knees could stay supported in a slightly bent position. Whether the second bolster is right under the knees or maybe it's more under the thighs, that's up to you. And just see how that feels. If you start to feel it's too intense for the back, you can always leave your knees fully bent. We'll take a couple of minutes in this supported bridge. You might bring arms overhead along the mat, along the floor. You might also open arms out to the sides like a cactus shape, T shape. With this supported bridge, we're looking for some gentle opening along the front line. Maybe some opening in the chest, in the belly area. Maybe along the hip flexor line, maybe all the way down in the thighs. Give yourself another 5 to 10 breaths here. See if you could soften your belly. Maybe send a couple of breaths down to the belly area. And at any point, if you start to feel that there's any kind of a pinch, maybe too big of a stretch around the knees, you can always bend the knees. And then with your next few breaths, slowly Start to bend your left leg if you had your left leg more extended. And you can either step your left foot onto that second bolster if you have a second bolster under the legs. Or you might hug your left knee towards the chest and then bring both hands behind the left knee, so that as you bend your left knee, your hands create a bit more space in that knee joint. So it's not fully flexed, it's not fully bent. And the right leg could extend with that extra support under the right knee. So we find ourselves in the reclining dragon pose. The left knee could turn a bit more out to the side if that feels good. Or you might guide your left knee towards the right shoulder. But with your hands behind the knee, behind the thigh, you're not fully flexing and compressing that left knee. But there's a bit more space for the joint. And again, if you start to feel this pose too much in that right leg, you can always bend the right knee more. In this reclining dragon, we might find a bit more opening in the line from the back of the left leg through the front of the right leg. And although we're using arms, try to keep your shoulders soft. Try to keep your neck, upper back soft. And we'll take another 5 to 10 breaths here. Send your breaths down towards the belly, down towards that right thigh. You might even imagine you're breathing towards the right knee. Allow yourself to let go of tension you don't need for this moment in this pose. And then either after your 5 to 10 breaths, or when you feel you would like to, you'd be ready to slowly transition to the other side of the reclining dragon. Just slowly step your left foot either onto a bolster or onto the mat. And slowly bend your right leg as well, so you have stepped both feet on the mat or onto that second bolster. And then we'll start to extend the left leg. Again, keeping that support under the left knee. You might leave your right foot on the mat, on the bolster, or again, you might bring your right knee towards the chest and bring both hands behind the right knee, behind the right thigh. So your hands are, again, keeping that knee angle a bit bigger, so we're not squishing, we're not compressing the knee into full flexion. Maybe the right knee turns more out to the right armpit, or maybe it comes more towards the left shoulder. You choose. And this side might feel completely different. If you need to change the angles in your hips or knees, you might make different choices on this second side. That's very fine. And again, notice the breath. Keep softening with exhalations. And let your in-breath slide to those areas where you feel the pose most. We could take another few breaths on this second side of the supported reclining dragon. And then after those few breaths, or when you feel you'd be ready to do so, just slowly start to release the right foot down. Then bend your both knees, stepping feet on the mat or on a bolster, and you can slowly push that second pillow, second bolster away if you had it under your legs, so that you can find your feet on the mat. And we're going to press the feet down to elevate the pelvis off the bolster, and then just slide your bolster aside so you can bring your back, your pelvis down. And then you can just gently rock your pelvis from side to side a couple of times. And then we're going to roll on to the right side. You can curl onto the right side and bring yourself up to sitting on the right hip. We're going to go into the rainbow pose, which is a side bend. So we're going to need at least one bolster or a bigger cushion, and that's going to be kind of sideways next to the right hip. And I'm suggesting that we bring some extra support under the left knee. So we're bringing legs into kind of a deer pose, deer shape. So left leg a bit further back, right knee in front of us. And you can bring some extra support, a second bolster or maybe a towel under the left knee. That's of course optional. Your left knee could also be down on the mat. We're going to lean our right side over the bolster, over the cushion. And then you could lean your head on the mat, or you could bring some extra support like a towel or block cushion under the head as well. I'm suggesting to bring right arm in front of you. Left arm could go over the head, or you might keep it somewhere lower down, close to the side. But focus on what kind of support your knees need. If you want, you can still adjust what support you maybe have under the legs, or maybe you don't want any support. And then we're going to settle in here for a couple of minutes. You could slide your breaths down and up along your left side. A bit like breathing into your left armpit, breathing down to the left hip, allowing the in-breaths to create space, open up space. And letting the out-breaths make your body just a bit heavier, softening tension. And releasing effort. Now we could spend another few breaths in this side bend. Notice if you're holding tension in the shoulders. Notice if you're still holding tension in the hips that you could release. And then after those few breaths, or when you feel ready to release the pose, slowly bring your left hand somewhere in front of you. And just slowly help yourself slightly off the bolster, so that you could now move aside the bolster that you had under your side. And then bring your legs more in front of you. And now you could have a bolster, a pillow between the legs. We're going to go back, lying down on our right side, but now there's no more bolster under the side. And we're going to move into a twist. Now, having some support under the legs, or especially between the legs, might give support for the knees. If there's any pain, sensitivity in the inner knees, it could be just a towel between the legs as well. And then we're going to open the left shoulder, turning chest up towards the ceiling. And you could still take a moment to adjust where the legs are. Do you want your arms open, or do you want them closer to your body? Head can turn to one side or the other. But finding a place for your legs where there's no pain, there's no pinching in the inner knees. You don't feel that your knees are twisting. And if for you that means that there are no props between the legs, then you are more than welcome to push the props aside. Having that cushion between the legs is just a suggestion. Allow your jaw to soften. Allow your eyes to soften. And we could spend another 5 to 10 breaths in this twist. If you feel that you need to come out of the pose earlier, or you feel that you want to adjust the shape, feel free to do that. We're always on a learning journey as we go through our practice. And it's good if we can listen to the messages we get from the body and practice how to adjust the shape so our bodies feel safe in the pose. After your 5 to 10 breaths, to release the twist, I'm going to suggest that we leave legs there on the side of the mat and slowly close the chest so we come back lying down on the right side. And from there, we'll slowly come up into a seat. You can help with your hands. And now come into a seated pose where your both legs are in front of you. We're going to go into a forward bend. Now we have many options for our legs and our props in this forward bend. You could have some support, like a bolster under your legs, and then have legs in a more extended pose in front of you. But the support under the knees is going to keep the legs slightly bent, so they're not fully extended, they're not fully bent. However, a bolster might be too big for this, and that's why I have this yoga mat, this rolled up yoga mat, because that is often quite a nice size to support the knees. So it allows you to almost extend the legs, but it still keeps the knees in that subtle bend shape. And you can either choose to bring your legs into a caterpillar shape, or if you like, you can also open legs into a butterfly shape, and you can still use support under the legs. If this rolled up mat doesn't feel good, you can also bring blocks or individual bolsters under each knee, especially if you're going for the butterfly shape. Having one prop for each knee might give you a bit more freedom to find the angle that you want for the hips and the knees. So let yourself play with which shape, caterpillar or butterfly, you want for your legs. And then when you have chosen that, we're going to lean our back forward. And you could use a bolster, cushion to support your belly, your chest as well. After that long chat, slowly, once you've found your shape, let yourself settle into your forward bend. And if you feel that there's a lot of tension in the neck, you might bring some extra support under your head. And if you have some smaller props like towels, blocks, you might bring them under the forehead. And then send some breaths towards the back side of the body. You might still adjust your legs, the angles in the knees and hips if needed. So that you feel you're not straining the joints. You could maybe find some opening sensations along those longer lines of the body. Maybe at the back of the legs, maybe back of the spine. Maybe you can feel your inner legs. Maybe you feel some compression at the front of the hips. Maybe in the chest. So we don't necessarily always feel a stretching sensation. All sensations are welcome and all sensations are equally valid. Whether it's a compression, whether it's a stretching sensation. Maybe it's just an awareness in a specific part of your body. Then you can focus on breathing towards those parts that you feel most. Those areas that maybe feel or need that attention most today. Let's give this forward bend another 5 to 10 breaths. Here as well, softening the back of the neck, the very top of the neck where your skull attaches to your neck, the base of your skull. And then after your 5 to 10 breaths, take a couple of slightly deeper, bigger breaths in and out as we start to bring ourselves back up. You could use your hands, your arms to help your back, your neck, your head out of that forward bend. You could move your props aside, and then we're going to slowly make our way into that side bend and twist on the other side. So you could now bring yourself to sit on the left hip. And we're going to need that bolster. So at least one bolster now next to the left hip. And I'm going to bring some support under the right knee. Now on this side, I'm just going to use a towel, so a slightly smaller support under the right knee. And then we're going to lean the left side over the bolster. You could bring left arm in front of you, Head could lean down on the mat, or you bring extra support under the head. Again, it could be a towel, could be a cushion under the head. Right arm could go over the head, or you can leave it lower down, maybe somewhere next to your side. And this side might be completely different. So again, listen to the sensations in your body. You might still adjust the props, you might still adjust the angles in your knees. And then bring your awareness back to your breath. Breathing down and up along that right side of the body. And creating space and releasing tension. We could spend another 5 to 10 breaths in the second side bend. And after those 5 to 10 breaths, or when you feel ready, just slowly, in your own time, bring your right hand somewhere in front of you and just slowly start to bring yourself up into a seat. And then we're going to go into that twist. So you might keep a towel between the legs, or if you want, you could bring a bolster there between the legs as we go all the way down, lying on the left side on the mat. So again, feel free to not use anything between the legs if that doesn't help you. Or you can have a smaller, you can have a bigger support between the legs. And then open your chest up towards the ceiling. So now it's the right shoulder, maybe the right arm, opening away from the legs. So that we find a twist. Twist from your legs all the way to that right shoulder, maybe all the way into that arm. And head can turn to one side or the other. And breathing here. Allowing shoulders, the back, the hips to become heavy. You can allow your breath to relax and quiet down as well. At any time you need to bring your focus back in, you can check in with the breath. It's there to help you, helping your body, helping your mind. And we could spend another 5 to 10 breaths in this twist. And then after those 5 to 10 breaths, we're going to slide on to the back and find Shavasana pose, our final resting relaxation pose. So in your own time, you could start to release the legs up to center. And as we come into Shavasana pose, I'm suggesting to have a bolster under the legs, a bit like in that first bridge pose. So having some support under the thighs, under the knees, so the legs can be in a kind of loose, extended / bent shape. But there's that support under their knees. If you feel that there's tension in the neck, rock the head from side to side. You could bring hands onto your belly, or just let your hands and arms rest on the mat next to your sides. If you feel comfortable to close your eyes, you could let yourself turn your full awareness inwards, close your eyes, and begin to spend here a few minutes observing the breath, allowing the body to soften, and just taking a moment to be. There's nowhere else to be right now, nothing else to do right now. So let yourself just be here. Take a slightly deeper, bigger breath in and exhale through the mouth, letting out a sigh. Take another deeper, bigger breath in and exhale through the mouth. Slowly start to bring gentle movement to your fingers, your toes. You can move your hands, move your feet. You might lengthen arms overhead along the floor and just slowly open your eyes if you had your eyes closed. When you feel ready, roll down onto one side. Could be the left or the right side, and bring yourself up into a seat, into an easy seat. And in this pose as well, you might want to support your knees, maybe with pillows, towels, blocks. Find a seat where you could leave your knees, your hips, your back, your shoulders soft, pain-free. And take a few more breaths in and out. Just slowly closing the practice. If it's a part of your practice, you can bring palms together in front of the chest. And as always, thank yourself for taking this time to practice, to check in with yourself. And I thank you very much for joining in, for sharing the time and the practice. Namaste. Thank you.